Grandpa wanted to prove snakes are inherently lustful, so he locked 12-year-old me in a coffin with a female snake. But what happened next? When I woke up the next day, there was a beautiful woman lying next to me instead, and her belly was surprisingly big. Grandpa didn't look sad, he was actually happy, even saying he'd throw a feast with 800 tables. But this all started back when I was born. I was born with an extremely yin destiny. Grandpa, who knows a bit about feng shui, made me sleep in a coffin since I was little. The other kids in the village found out and isolated me. They said only dead people sleep in coffins. I thought I'd end up lonely for the rest of my life, until I was 6 years old. That's when I met a blue python. It completely changed my fate. That night, the villagers were out with flashlights, like they were searching for something, but Grandpa had told me, I can't go out at night. Curious, I opened the window. Right after I did, a blue snake slithered into my room. I stood frozen, staring at it. It had wounds on its body, and blood was oozing out. Even though I was considered an unlucky child, I felt sorry for it. It seemed to understand me too. It didn't hurt me at all. I quickly hid it inside the coffin I slept in. Just then, someone knocked on my door. It was Grandpa. Mosey, he asked, did you see anything come into the house? Pretending to be sleepy, I said no. The villagers outside finally left. After they were gone, the snake poked its head out and nodded at me like it was saying thanks. From that night on, I'd hold it and sleep with it every night. And that went on for 6 whole years. Until the night before my 12th birthday, Grandpa came into my room with some incense and candles. Mosey, he said, the next 7 nights are crucial. If you get through them safely, you'll live. If not, then that's your fate. Confused, I stared at him and asked, Grandpa, what do you mean by that? Grandpa sighed. Do you know why I've made you sleep in a coffin since you were little? Because your birth chart has an extremely yin destiny. This kind of destiny is called a ghost-stealing fate. Once you turn 12 tonight, this destiny will fully show itself. When that happens, all the lonely ghosts around here will come to take over your body. Grandpa, is that true? Don't tease me, I said, trembling a little. Grandpa lifted the quilt on top of the coffin, revealing lots of yellow talismans underneath. The reason I let you sleep in a coffin is that your yang energy drops when you sleep. That makes the yin energy in your body leak out. The talismans around this coffin lock that yin energy in, so the wandering ghosts nearby don't detect it. But now you're old enough for your destiny to show. These talismans can't hold it back anymore. Now we can only pray. There aren't too many lonely ghosts around. I stared at Grandpa silently. I still had some doubts, but in the end I nodded. After Grandpa left, I lay down in the coffin like usual. I couldn't sleep at all that night. I just held the snake tightly until dawn. Thankfully, nothing happened to me the next day, but 6 people in the village died for no reason, and after they died, snake scales grew on their bodies. This incident caused a big stir. Some people brought up the blue snake from 6 years ago. When I heard them talk about the blue snake, the first thing I thought of was the one in my coffin, because the scales on the dead villagers looked just like its scales. That day, everyone in the village came to my house, begging Grandpa to find a solution. I was almost certain. The 6 deaths were related to the snake in my coffin. I rushed to my room. The snake was still there. Did you kill those people? I asked, scared as I stared at it. It looked at me and shook its head, then leaned its head on my shoulder. That little gesture calmed me down a lot. I kept telling myself, this snake has been in my coffin the whole time. It couldn't have had time to hurt the villagers. It was noisy outside. The villagers were all chattering, urging Grandpa to act fast. It wasn't until noon that the villagers finally left. I stepped outside and heard Grandpa say with a worried look, to kill a snake, hit its 7-inch spot. For a snake to become a spirit, it needs 7 human souls to help it. 6 are already dead. 1 more person will die. If that snake really becomes a spirit, the whole village will be doomed. 1 more person will die? I asked in shock. Grandpa nodded. The 6 who died, they're the ones who hurt that snake back then. We have no idea who the snake will target next. I thought back to when the snake first slithered into my room. It really did have several wounds on its body. Realizing that, I quickly asked Grandpa, are you sure those 6 people were killed by the snake? Grandpa shook his head. Actually, when a snake is about to become a spirit, it doesn't even need to do it itself. Even if it's hiding in a cave, it can still find a way to harm people. I stood up straight suddenly, my face turning pale. After a moment of silence, I gritted my teeth and told him about the snake. Actually, that snake has been in my coffin this whole time. When Grandpa heard that, he slammed his hand on the table. "What did you say?" he roared, furious. I told him the whole story from start to finish. Grandpa was absolutely furious after hearing it. He raised his hand and slapped me. I was still young back then. That slap left me stunned. I opened my mouth and burst into tears. Grandpa didn't care that I was crying. He dragged me toward my room. When we got to the coffin and looked inside, the snake was gone. Grandpa stared at me coldly. "Ghost disasters can be avoided, but there's nothing I can do about monster disasters. I don't even think we need to look for it. You're going to die tonight." After hearing that, I protested. "Grandpa, it won't hurt me." Grandpa didn't say anything else. Instead, he pulled out a willow branch and chased me around the room, hitting me with it. While hitting me, he apologized. The child doesn't know any better. He offended the great immortal. Great immortal, please forgive him, forgive him. Eventually, the pain made me pass out. Then Grandpa just threw me on the bed and walked out. When I woke up from the pain in the middle of the night, I found I couldn't move. I looked closely. My hands and feet were tied up with willow branches. I shouted for Grandpa, but there was no answer. Just then, an incredibly beautiful woman in a blue cheongsam pushed the door open and walked in. "Who are you? Why are you in my house?" I asked, staring at her intensely. She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned in and tried to kiss me. I pulled back instinctively and asked, "Fairy sister, are you here to see my grandpa?" "I'm not here for your grandpa. I'm here for you." Her voice was beautiful. I didn't know what to do. "But I don't even know you." "You will," she said. Then she reached out and touched the wounds on my body. She smiled softly, suddenly bent down, stuck out her tongue, and gently licked my wound. The next second, a tingly feeling spread through me. I couldn't help but let out a sigh. It felt so good. Even though my hands and feet were tied, it didn't ruin the pleasure the fairy sister was giving me. That's when I had a naughty thought. "Fairy sister, can you untie these willow branches for me?" She smiled and shook her head, then looked at me with incredibly charming eyes. "Little brother, am I beautiful?"
Do you want me?
I think you all know what happened next. And it's not the interesting part, so I'll skip 3,000 words here. Afterward, she looked at me contentedly and said, "Little brother, we'll meet again. Pretend tonight never happened. Don't tell anyone about this. When you grow up, I'll marry you." I was so flustered I couldn't speak straight. I asked the fairy sister excitedly, "Is it true that you'll marry me?" "Yes, it's true. I won't lie to you. But about us two, you can't tell anyone. Not even your grandpa. Did you hear me?" As soon as she finished speaking, a wave of sleepiness hit me. I lay down and fell asleep right away. The next day, I was woken up by a bucket of cold water. Grandpa was standing in front of me. He said coldly, "Oh no, your wounds really scabbed over overnight. Hurry up and get up, come with me." I was just about to ask where we were going, when my consciousness blurred again. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a strange room. An old man was staring at me. He pried open my jaw, then said, "Dazed eyes, yellow forehead, black tongue coating, purple lips. This kid will die an unexpected death within 7 days. Brother Zhao, I'm afraid this boy's time is almost up." Grandpa's face turned livid. He glanced at me, then at Brother Hu. "This grandson of mine has no parents. He never had a good life with me. Please, Brother Hu, show me a way out. Tell me what to do." Grandpa Hu looked at me and sighed. His wound scabbed, but the pain still lingers. That means his body is rejecting it. Brother Zhao, you almost beat him to death, and the Snake Immortal still won't let him go. That means the Snake Immortal is dead set on taking his life. Grandpa nodded. "Brother, I know what you're saying, but I only know a little about ghost matters. Just the basics. When it comes to dealing with monsters, you're better at this than me, Brother Hu." Grandpa Hu frowned, then continued, "But 6 people have already died. The 7 luminaries is the snake demon's reincarnation technique. If he wants to survive this disaster, the only way is to marry him off, find him a backer. Only then will the Snake Immortal fear him." Grandpa was stunned at first, then his expression kept changing. "Brother Hu, are you talking about a ghost marriage?" Grandpa Hu nodded. "Since ancient times, demons and ghosts can't coexist. We need to find him a female ghost as a wife." Grandpa shook his head after hearing that. But with his extremely yin destiny, If he has a ghost marriage, I'm afraid he'll die even faster. Grandpa Hu shook his head. A snake demon's fatal curse has no solution, but an extremely yin destiny can be broken by ghosts. If the ghost marriage is done right, he can still save his life after the wedding night. Besides, that snake demon has slept with him for 7 years. They've been together every night. If it takes his life to become a demon, the snake demon's cultivation will jump decades ahead. By then, I'm afraid no one will be able to subdue it. Grandpa pondered for a moment, then slowly nodded. When I heard Old Man Liang say that, I endured the sharp pain and sat up abruptly. I don't want a ghost wife, I said stubbornly. Grandpa Wu smiled. Kid, you've got it wrong. This ghost wife is here to protect you from disaster. She won't stop you from marrying a real wife later. My eyes lit up when I heard that. Grandpa, is that true? Grandpa nodded. Of course it's true. Did you really think a female ghost would stay with you forever? They need to be reincarnated too. I felt so wronged back then. I could only pout and say, find me a good-looking one. I want to choose myself. You still want a good-looking one? You should be grateful. Any female ghost is willing to take you. You made this mess. You have to face the consequences. Grandpa didn't hold back from discouraging me. Ghosts practice the Tao of souls. Brother Zhao, hurry up and contact a troupe that performs ghost operas. Grandpa Hu hurried to tell Grandpa. Grandpa nodded and went out. Grandpa Hu took some offerings, then pulled me to a cemetery 5 miles away to invite ghosts. We waited until it got dark. Then he led me to look at the tombstones. We needed to check if the person buried inside was male or female. If it was a woman, we'd check how old she was when she died. We basically ignored anyone over 25, because in the countryside, women over 25 were usually married already. If they were married before death, they couldn't have a ghost marriage. We checked more than a dozen graves, and finally found a woman who died at 22. Grandpa Hu took out an apple, lit an incense stick, and said, tomorrow night at midnight, there will be a sacred ceremony at the old Zhao family's house at the entrance of Yingfu village. Firecrackers will guide the way. If you're interested, miss, come and take a look. Grandpa Hu made me kowtow 3 times to the grave. Then, we continued to look for another grave that met the requirements. We paid respects to more than a dozen graves that night. When we got home, it was already noon. The ghost opera troupe had already arrived. Grandpa and the villagers were setting up the stage. I sat quietly on a small bench, watching Grandpa explain to the villagers. He said we were using my life to lure the snake demon out and get rid of it. When the stage was almost finished, Grandpa wanted to treat everyone to a meal, so he killed the only 2 big hens we had, while I was helping pluck the chicken feathers. I asked Grandpa if this would really work. Grandpa sighed. I can't guarantee this will let you live, but if we don't do it, you'll definitely die. After eating, the people who helped build the stage left. Only 8 people remained in the yard. Me, Grandpa, Grandpa Hu, and the rest were members of the ghost opera troupe. But I never expected that among the troupe members, there was someone who looked exactly like the fairy sister. But we had a promise. We couldn't recognize each other even if we met. So I didn't go up to greet her. The troupe knew all the rules of performing ghost operas. First, they changed me into a groom's outfit. They set up 15 square tables. I sat in the middle. White cloth was spread on the tables, with incense burners, raw meat, and fruits placed on them. A stack of yellow paper money was pressed with stones on the benches. Only 2 things were placed on the table in front of me. One was a jade pendant passed down in my family, and under the jade pendant was my birth chart. Just then, the person from the troupe who looked like the fairy sister walked over. She sat down naturally, across from me. Little brother, do you still remember me? As soon as she spoke, I was sure she was the fairy sister. It really is you, fairy sister. I didn't tell Grandpa about us, but Grandpa said only marrying me to a ghost wife could keep it a secret, I said cautiously. What your grandpa said is right. I won't blame you. Are you scared of marrying a ghost wife? The fairy sister asked with a smile. I'm not scared at all. What about you, fairy sister? Are you scared? I said firmly. The fairy sister shook her head. Actually, I can see ghosts. It's just that no one else knows. And ghosts aren't scary at all. By the way, do you have any requirements for your ghost wife? I don't have any requirements. I just don't want her to be scary. If possible, I hope she's pretty. The fairy sister let out an oh, then looked at me seriously. Little brother, I still don't know your name. I replied. My name is Zhao Mo. Mo as in silence. After hearing me, the fairy sister suddenly gave a strange smile. That was your old name? You won't be called that anymore after the ghost opera, because after the opera, you'll need to change your name. I had no idea why I needed to change my name. By the way, I also have the surname Zhao. My name is Zhao Yixian. Jian as in fairy. The fairy sister stood up as she spoke, then looked at an old man waving to her from the stage. Grandpa's calling me. The ghost opera is starting soon. Kid, don't be scared. Ghosts really aren't scary. She then turned and walked toward the stage. Just then, Grandpa Hu walked over. He looked at me and said, "Later, no matter what happens, don't be afraid. The female ghosts we invited, they'll come over to check you out. If any of them picks up the jade pendant in front of you, it means she agrees to marry you. Then you just go to the bedroom for the wedding night." Ghosts can have a wedding night too? I asked, trembling. Yes, don't be scared. Just do whatever she tells you to do then. If you're really unlucky and run into a vengeful ghost that wants to kill you, then you're just out of luck, kid. But the chance of that is really low, because they usually don't harm the person they choose themselves. After Grandpa Hu finished speaking, he picked up the paper money on the ground and started burning it. When he finished burning the paper money, it was already midnight. He took an incense stick and lit the firecrackers at the door. A man and a woman came out from the opera troupe's backstage. They were wearing shrouds, with their faces painted deathly pale. As soon as they came out, the woman shouted in a shrill voice, "Midnight Divine Opera! We respectfully invite all deities to take your seats. Tonight's performance is The Widow Visits the Grave." As soon as the actress finished announcing the play, the actor took out a dagger and stabbed it straight into his chest. A spray of blood gushed out, and he fell to the ground. Right after that, a cold wind blew in through the courtyard gate. The stones pressing down on the yellow paper money on the benches fell to the floor. The paper money was also lifted up onto the tables by an invisible force. As time passed, all the female ghosts we had invited the night before took their seats. The actress on stage was now lying on top of the actor, wailing in an extremely shrill voice. My scalp went numb, and I kept feeling like someone was touching me all over. I didn't know how long it had been, when suddenly, inexplicable applause broke out around me. I looked up. The ghost opera had already ended. The actress spoke again in her shrill voice. "The Widow Visits the Grave has now concluded. Next is the second performance, the Yin Wife and Yang Groom. The groom is among all you deities present. His birth chart has also been presented. If you approve of him, please accept the betrothal gifts and become his yin-yang spouse. If not, we still thank you all for coming." After the actress finished speaking, she retreated to the backstage. Everyone else on stage also went inside. The courtyard fell completely silent. I was so scared I was about to break down. Cold sweat poured down my body. Suddenly, the table started making tapping sounds. I was so frightened that I jumped up from the bench. Dozens of pale hands appeared around the jade pendant. And just as I jumped up, 2 hands rested on my shoulders and pressed me back down onto the bench. Sisters. What does this mean? I trembled with fear. His birth chart and destiny are mine. No one has worshipped me in decades. This kid is mine! All of you, get out of here! I died young. He's mine. If that's the case, then let's tear him apart and split him. Hearing these voices, I almost fainted from fear. I stammered. What do you guys really mean? It means they all have their eyes on you. Zhao Yixian's playful voice rang out. Before I could say anything, Zhao Yixian shouted coldly, "There's only one groom. You can't all have him. The prettiest one stays. The rest of you, get out of here for me." As soon as Zhao Yixian said that, only one hand remained among the dozens. "You're mine now." A terrifying voice echoed in my ears. "Do you have the power to deal with that snake demon with 500 years of cultivation?" Zhao Yixian's voice sounded again. It was clear she was talking to that female ghost. The female ghost froze. Before she could speak, Zhao Yixian said directly, "If not, get out. Don't stand here in the way." Unexpectedly, the female ghost said, "I'm sorry," then left immediately. Just then, the light bulb on the stage turned on. Grandpa rushed over from the backstage right away. He looked at the table and finally breathed a sigh of relief. "The jade pendant is gone. Looks like we found a ghost wife for you. As soon as the Z hour is over, and the Cho hour is about to begin, we'll send the kid to the bedroom." Grandpa Hu took over and said, I started looking around for Zhao Yixian, but strangely enough, I had no idea when Zhao Yixian had disappeared. "Master, where's your granddaughter?" I asked the troop master. standing in the courtyard. Granddaughter? What granddaughter? The troop master looked at me in confusion. Chao Yixian, the fairy sister who came with your troop, I said anxiously. After hearing what I said, the troop master's mouth dropped open. Came with us? But there are only 4 of us when we came here. I looked at Grandpa in disbelief. Grandpa also nodded. He's right, this troop really only has 4 people. But before the opera even started, Xiao Yixian was talking to me. I clearly saw you wave at her and call her over, I said to the troop master in confusion. The troop master frowned and thought for a moment, then said, When I waved just now, it was because it was too hot. I was fanning myself. I also took a glance at you to check on your condition. Oh no, if you're saying this, could it be that our troop has picked up something unclean? Master, please settle our payment. We need to leave now, Grandpa Hu quickly chimed in. Brother Zhao, let them go first. After what happened, they need to go back and deal with it as soon as possible. Grandpa nodded, then went into the house to get the money. The 4 members of the troop left my house quickly after getting paid. They even cursed about how unlucky this was as they left. As soon as the troop left, Grandpa Hu hurried to ask me, tell me, what's the deal with this Zhao Yixian? I quickly told him everything that had happened, but I didn't mention the other things that had happened between Zhao Yixian and me the night before. After listening, Grandpa Hu suddenly said, oh no, that troop is going to be in trouble. Brother Zhao, hurry up and call them back. Grandpa seemed to realize what was happening too. He quickly picked up his phone and started calling. I asked Grandpa Hu what was going on. Grandpa Hu frowned. That Zhao Yixian you mentioned, she might be the snake demon in disguise. She came here in advance, and even scared away all those female ghosts. Naturally, those female ghosts won't be willing to let this go. They'll think Zhao Yixian came with the opera troupe. If they find out the troupe doesn't have the snake demon, among them when they head back, they'll kill every member of the troupe. I was shocked. I said instinctively, that can't be. How could Zhao Yixian be the snake demon? She just saved me, and she even took my jade pendant. Grandpa Hu, didn't you say that whoever takes my jade pendant agrees to marry me? Grandpa Hu was also stunned. He clearly hadn't thought of that. He looked at me with a confused expression. Don't tell me you've actually fallen for that snake demon? She's not a snake demon, I argued loudly. My fondness for Zhao Yixian in my heart couldn't be shaken by a few words from Grandpa Hu. If it weren't for her just now, those female ghosts would have torn me apart. I even heard them say they were going to tear me to pieces. It's no use, they're not answering the phone. Something bad must have happened, Grandpa said as he put down the phone, looking annoyed. After hearing this, Grandpa Hu sighed. I'll go check the road. Brother Zhao, the kid has a point. That snake demon took the jade pendant. Maybe she really wants to marry him. We might as well give it a try. Grandpa nodded. Looks like that's the only way for now. Brother Wu, be careful. If that snake demon comes to claim lives, I'll give this old life of mine to her. I was confused by what I heard, but I still believed in Zhao Yixian. She wasn't a snake demon, and she definitely didn't want to kill anyone. Grandpa, I'll wait for her in the bedroom. If she really is a snake demon, I'll accept my fate, I said, looking at Grandpa firmly. Grandpa stared at me in a daze. All right, go inside. I'll stand guard outside. Shout if anything happens. I went back to the bedroom in the groom's outfit and plopped down on the bed. My mind was still filled with thoughts of Zhao Yixian. Every look of hers was so beautiful. I waited quietly on the bed, from the Z hour all the way to the Cho hour, but there was still no movement in the room. I started to get anxious. As I waited, I began to feel sleepy. Just as I was about to close my eyes, Grandpa burst in suddenly. He looked at me, still sitting alone on the bed, and sighed. It looks like this snake demon is really obsessed with you. She accepted the betrothal gift but won't come to you. She wants to torture you to death slowly. Grandpa, even if Zhao Yixian is a snake demon, she's a good one. If she wants my life, I'll give it to her willingly, I said, standing up. Firmly. You're really bewitched. Have you forgotten how those 6 people in the village died? If she's a good person, how could she have killed them? Grandpa shouted angrily. He raised his hand, ready to hit me again, but he didn't bring it down in the end. It wasn't because he didn't want to, it was because his phone rang. As soon as he pressed the answer button, Grandpa Hugh's anxious voice came through. Brother Zhao, take the kid and get out of the house quickly. The troop's car has fallen off a cliff. It's clearly the work of those female ghosts from the cemetery. They'll be coming back for you soon. As soon as he finished speaking, Grandpa Hu hung up the phone. Did you hear that? Hurry up and take off that outfit. Come with me. Grandpa looked at me anxiously. I stood up in a fluster. Grandpa, Zhao Yixian will come save me. She won't let those female ghosts hurt me. Just then, Zhao Yixian's voice sounded again. Yes, the kid is right. I won't let those female ghosts hurt him. Zhao Yixian's graceful figure appeared at the door, looking even more charming under the dim yellow light. When I saw Zhao Yixian appear, I dodged past Grandpa and ran straight toward her. Throwing myself into her arms, Grandpa looked at her and sighed. Great immortal. It was my unworthy grandson who was in the wrong earlier. But 6 people have already died. Surely your revenge is enough. I don't understand why you're clinging to him so tightly. Zhao Yixian smiled softly. Old sir, I think you've misunderstood. Zhao Mo saved me. How could I ever harm him in return? Humans become ghosts when they die, and animals become demons when they cultivate. That day, I was competing with 2 other spiritual snakes for the immortal fruit. I couldn't fight back, and then I ran into those 6 people from your village. I thought all 3 of us snakes would have our efforts wasted and die in this disaster. But luckily for me, I only suffered severe damage to my vitality and narrowly escaped death. In the end, I stayed in Zhao Mo's coffin to recover my vitality. After hearing Zhao Yixian's words, I finally understood what had happened. She really was a snake demon. But we had already become husband and wife in body. That didn't matter to me at all. I quickly looked at Zhao Yixian. Fairy sister, tell Grandpa, you had nothing to do with those 6 people's deaths. Zhao Yixian sighed, a look of regret on her face. Yes, I didn't kill them. It's because they killed the other 2 spiritual snakes. The snakes' spiritual consciousness attached to their bodies. That consciousness lay dormant for 7 years, and they were doomed to die after 7 years. I wanted to save them too, but I was powerless to do so. So that's how it is. Turns out this ghost opera of mine only brought disaster, Grandpa said, filled with remorse. Zhao Yixian shook her head. That's not the case at all. You know Zhao Mo has an extremely yin destiny, so he was bound to face a ghost disaster sooner or later. I could already feel it when he first got close to me. After seeing his birth chart just now, I'm even more certain this destiny can't avoid a ghost disaster. Zhao Yixian spoke sincerely. No pretense at all. What the young lady says is true. I also noticed this kid's destiny is special, but I never realized this layer of meaning. Now that a great disaster is approaching, I don't know how he can avoid it, Grandpa said, worried. I looked at Zhao Yixian. Grandpa, don't worry. Fairy sister is really powerful. With just a few words, she scared away all those female ghosts. But Grandpa shook his head. Immortals walk at Z hour. Ghosts walk at Chu hour. Besides, the opera troupe was performing ghost operas on stage. They also used some small tricks to confuse ghosts. Given the current situation, Miss Zhao, I'm afraid it won't be so easy for you to deal with this. I turned to look at Zhao Yixian, worried written all over my face. Fairy sister, is what Grandpa said true? Zhao Yixian nodded silently, then looked at me and smiled gently. Don't worry, just listen to me obediently, and I promise I'll keep you safe. I understood, of course. But this would consume your cultivation, Miss Zhao. Those female ghosts will never let you go, Grandpa said anxiously. Zhao Yixian shook her head. We don't have time to worry about that now. I'll go out right now. My dear husband, you stay in the room obediently. Don't go anywhere. After Zhao Yixian finished speaking, she turned and walked out the door. Her slender, perfect figure was deeply etched into my mind. After Zhao Yixian went out, it was as if someone had covered my ears. I went deaf and couldn't hear any sound anymore. I quickly got up and ran to the door. Through the crack, I saw what was happening in the courtyard. Grandpa Hu had already come back. He and Grandpa were lying on the ground, with 2 female ghosts in shrouds, clinging to their backs. They couldn't move at all, only their limbs twitching in struggle. In the middle of the small courtyard, I saw an even more heartbreaking sight. A dozen female ghosts and Zhao Yixian were standing there. Zhao Yixian was surrounded by those 10 odd female ghosts, and female ghosts kept pouncing at her with bared teeth and claws. Their sharp nails scratched Zhao Yixian's body, leaving one bloodstain after another. In less than 3 minutes, Zhao Yixian's blue cheongsam had been dyed purple with blood. Stop, you damn female ghosts. Come at me if you have the guts. Don't torment her, I roared loudly, preparing to rush out. But for some reason, even though the door was slightly ajar, no matter how hard I pushed, I couldn't open it. The noise I made made all the female ghosts turn to look at me. By then, Zhao Yixian was already exhausted, staggering in the middle of the courtyard. When the female ghosts saw me, they stopped attacking Zhao Yixian. Several of them floated over to the door, pressing their ugly, pale faces against the crack. It looked utterly terrifying. "Come on, bite me if you dare!" "You ugly monsters, I'm not scared," I shouted back loudly. The way they treated Zhao Yixian filled me with hatred for them. Anger and hatred had long chased away the fear in my heart. Suddenly, a pale hand rested on my shoulder. I turned around and saw an even uglier ghost face. Less than 10 centimeters away from me, the female ghost stared at me intensely. I couldn't move a muscle, as if bound by thin air. The female ghost stared at me for a long time. Then her black lips moved a few times. I couldn't understand what she said. Just then, Zhao Yixian, covered in blood, suddenly appeared beside me. She raised her hand and slapped, sending the female ghost flying several meters back. Zhao Yixian pulled me into her arms, shielded me, and walked to a corner. Then she spoke a few angry words. The female ghosts all swarmed in, each bearing their claws and teeth. Their cold, malicious eyes were all fixed on Zhao Yixian. No one paid any more attention to me. The room was in chaos, but I couldn't hear a single sound. In the end, the female ghost still pounced. And at that moment, Zhao Yixian held out a blood-stained hand and gently brushed my face. I felt dizzy and lightheaded and slid down against the wall, too weak to stand. In the last moment before I closed my eyes, I only saw a dozen female ghosts rushing over, and Zhao Yixian, small, delicate, and covered in blood, standing in front of me to protect me. When I woke up, the sun had already risen. Beside the bed sat Grandpa and Grandpa Hu. Both of them looked exhausted. When Grandpa saw me wake up, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. He's awake at last. Looks like he's safely survived this disaster. Grandpa Hu took over and said, "Yes, it's just a pity for Miss Zhao," Grandpa added. I sat up abruptly. I asked anxiously, "Grandpa, where's Zhao Yixian?" Grandpa shook his head and sighed without saying a word. I quickly turned to Grandpa Hu. "Grandpa Hu, please tell me, where did Zhao Yixian go? I need to find her." "She's okay, right?" Grandpa Hu also sighed. Looking at their expressions, tears poured down my face like broken beads. The feeling was indescribable. Even when Grandpa beat me the hardest, I had never cried so much. I vaguely felt that Fairy Sister was gone, but I refused to admit it. I quickly grabbed the groom's outfit by the bed and put it on in a hurry. "Grandpa, I want to marry Zhao Yixian." This time, Grandpa didn't object. Instead, he nodded heavily. "I'll take you to see her." I jumped up excitedly. Grandpa said he'd take me to see her. Did that mean she was still here? They led me to the courtyard. In the western corner of the courtyard, there was a new mound of earth. The mound was freshly dug. The soil on top was still damp. In front of the mound stood a tombstone, which had nothing written on it. On the ground were a brush and ink, an incense burner, and a few plates of offerings. "She's gone," Grandpa said. "We built this tomb for her. You must come to worship her often from now on. It will help her reincarnate smoothly," Grandpa Hu said, looking at me sadly. When I heard Grandpa Hu's words, I knelt down in front of the tomb and burst into tears. I cried for nearly an hour. Finally, I looked up at the two elders, weak with grief. "Grandpa, Grandpa Hu, I want to bow to her as her husband. Is that okay? It's only right. Such a righteous and affectionate woman. She's worthy of you marrying her," Grandpa and Grandpa Hu said, smiling at me. I didn't ask Grandpa what exactly happened last night, how the female ghosts left, or how Zhao Yixian died. Grandpa would tell me those things later. Right now, I just knelt in front of her tomb and cried. Grandpa brought a pair of red candles, along with a wine flask and 2 cups. He poured wine into both cups, then took out the family heirloom jade pendant. He spoke seriously to the jade pendant. "Miss Zhao, thank you for saving Zhao Mo. Without you, he would already be lying in a coffin by now. You gave him his life. Today he wants to bow to you as your husband. I'll be the one to give you my blessing." As he spoke, he poured 1 cup of wine over the jade pendant. When the wine touched the pendant, a thin wisp of white mist rose, then seeped into the soil below. "Hurry up and drink your wine," Grandpa Hu reminded me. I picked up my cup and drank the sorghum wine in 1 gulp. It was spicy and burned my throat, making my eyes water. It was the first time I'd ever drunk alcohol. Just then, a beam of sunlight shone on my face. Behind the small courtyard of our house, Dark clouds suddenly gathered, and soon a light rain began to fall. Grandpa Hu sighed and said, "The sun rises in the east while it rains in the west." What seems heartless is actually full of feeling. This snake immortal was so deeply affectionate. After the ghost opera, you must change your name. You yearn for her but can't have her. Immortals and mortals are forever separated. From now on, your name will be Zhao Lianfan, Cao Yixian, Cao Lianfan. The names are quite a match, Grandpa said. I nodded. Even though the name sounded a bit feminine, I really liked it. I picked up the brush from the ground, dipped it in ink, and wrote 2 clumsy lines on the blank tombstone. Tomb of Zhao Yixian, husband, Zhao Lianfan. The wedding ceremony was simple. Grandpa tied the jade pendant to a red string and put it around my neck. I pressed it tightly against my chest. Strangely enough, on hot days, the pendant felt cool, unusually comfortable. On cold nights, the pendant was even warmer than my body temperature. That night, I kept having dreams. Zhao Yixian was in every one of them. When I woke up in the morning, I found my pillow soaked with tears. I knew I'd been crying all night in my dream. I missed Zhao Yixian even more, but those female ghosts, I hated them with all my heart. Early the next morning, when the sky was just getting light, before Grandpa woke up, I gritted my teeth, picked up a hoe and a shovel from the yard, and went out. I was going to dig up graves, dig up all those female ghosts' graves, take their bones out and expose them to the sun. They were the ones who killed Zhao Yixian. I wasn't going to let them get away with it. June weather is like a baby's face. It changes in a heartbeat. As soon as I stepped out of the yard, a heavy downpour started. I didn't care about it. If I didn't dig up those female ghosts' graves, I couldn't let out the resentment in my heart. I even thought, maybe I should just let those ghosts kill me. Maybe I'd get to see Zhao Yixian after I died. When someone's ready to throw away their life, there's nothing that can scare them. And that's exactly how I felt then. I ran as fast as I could with the hoe and shovel, tears streaming down my face as I ran. I didn't even know where I got the strength. I hadn't eaten breakfast, but I ran for 2 whole hours. By the end, I could only drag the shovel along. It was like heaven was on my side. When I reached the grave hill, the dark clouds cleared, and the rain stopped. I carried the hoe and shovel and kept walking up the hill. After walking nearly 100 meters, I tried to remember the road I'd taken before. I wanted to find all those female ghosts' graves. But as I walked, I passed a familiar grave. It belonged to a classmate's mom. She'd hanged herself to death. I'd even gone to her funeral. When I walked past her grave, I bowed twice to it, then kept walking forward. But as I went on, I noticed something was wrong. Why was I back at her grave again? I hadn't seen a single one of the graves I was looking for. I started to get anxious. A wave of anger was building up inside me. If I couldn't dig up those dozen female ghost graves, I'd never be able to let go. I kept walking forward. After just a few steps, I turned around, and there was my classmate's mom's grave again. "Auntie, it's true I'm here to dig graves, but you're not my target. Can you stop messing with me?" I said helplessly to the tombstone. After I finished speaking, I kept walking forward, but for the 3rd time, that grave appeared right in front of me. This time, I felt a sudden chill run down my spine. I swallowed hard. "Auntie, stop playing tricks on me. I really have something important to do." As soon as I said that, I started to feel dizzy. I rubbed my eyes, and when I opened them, I realized I was still at the foot of the hill. I hadn't even climbed up the hill at all. Ghostly confusion. That phrase popped into my head. I'd never encountered ghostly confusion before, but Grandpa had told me about it. If you run into it, you mustn't keep walking forward. All you need to do is stay where you are, and you'll be fine. I sat there anxiously for a long time. After about an hour, because I was so tired, I actually fell asleep on the ground. In my dream, I kept hearing Zhao Yixian say, "I'm sorry." I asked her why she was sorry, but she wouldn't answer me. She just kept saying, "I'm sorry," over and over. I didn't know how long I'd slept. Grandpa woke me up with a slap. He looked at me and snapped, "What are you doing here? You even brought a hoe and shovel. Are you here to dig your own grave?" I reached up and rubbed my burning cheek, my face full of defiance. "Grandpa, I'm going to dig up those female ghosts' graves. I'm going to dig out their bones and expose them to the sun." After I finished speaking, Grandpa yelled, "Are you tired of living?" We finally got through that mess. Why are you asking for trouble again? I shouted angrily, for Zhao Yixian! Then I stubbornly got up, grabbed the hoe and shovel, and ran up the hill. Now that Grandpa was here, that ghostly confusion should be gone. Get back here right now! What good will digging up their graves do? Grandpa shouted anxiously from behind. I ignored him. Grandpa ran as fast as he could after me. Finally, I found a grave. This one. I remembered Grandpa Hu had burned incense here before. The incense sticks and that apple were still there. Without a second thought, I threw the shovel on the ground, lifted the hoe, and got ready to smash the tombstone. Stop! Zhao Yixian isn't dead! You can't smash it! Grandpa roared loudly. I froze mid-movement, then turned to look at Grandpa. I knew he was probably lying to me. Grandpa sat on the ground, gasping for breath. Looking at his old, frail figure, I suddenly came to my senses. I dropped the hoe and ran over to Grandpa quickly, helped him up, and sat him on a stone. Sorry, Grandpa. I just miss her so much. If I don't do something for her, I won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Silly boy, I know you're loyal, but what you're doing won't help at all. It'll only bring more trouble on yourself. Do you understand? For the first time ever, Grandpa didn't scold me. From his attitude, I could tell. Grandpa had been lying when he said Zhao Yixian wasn't dead, but I still couldn't let it go. I asked him, Grandpa, is Zhao Yixian really not dead? When Grandpa saw I'd calmed down, he forced a smile and said, Grandpa lied to you just now. I hope you don't blame me. You need to know, your life isn't just yours. Miss Zhao has a share in it too. If you die, how heartbroken will Miss Zhao be? I nodded silently. Grandpa, I get it. I don't want to make her sad. I want to live for her. Grandpa reached out and patted my shoulder and said, living well is the best comfort for Miss Zhao. Come on, let's go home. I turned around, picked up the hoe and shovel, and followed Grandpa home. When we got home, I first paid my respects to Zhao Yixian. Then I cooked a meal. While we ate, Grandpa told me what had happened that night. I couldn't hear anything that night because Zhao Yixian covered my ears. As for why, Grandpa didn't say. Zhao Yixian fought hard to protect me. She knew she couldn't beat those dozen female ghosts, so she didn't go all out. She just hoped they'd let me go. Earlier, when we were intimate, Zhao Yixian transferred her immortal energy into my body and sealed my fate linked to my bloodline. That's why those female ghosts lost interest in me. So, the female ghosts turned all their resentment on Zhao Yixian. In the end, they tore her to pieces alive. After Grandpa finished speaking, he sighed deeply. 500 years of cultivation. She finally managed to take human form, but this is how it ended for her. The whole time, I didn't say a word. This meal made me realize Zhao Yixian was really gone. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. During these 3 years, my life went smoothly. My physical condition also became really good. Maybe it was because Zhao Yixian had given me her immortal energy. My memory became extremely sharp, almost to the point where I never forgot anything I saw. In elementary school, my grades were only above average. But since the start of junior high, I'd kept the top spot in the grade. I never fell from it. Because of my good grades, I became the teacher's favorite and the envy of my classmates. Plus, I was decent looking. A lot of female classmates came around. Some of them were really pretty, from wealthy families, with good grades too, but I didn't have the slightest interest. In my heart, only the 3 characters Zhao Yixian existed. Besides that, I could always see things others couldn't. Grandpa Hu said, Zhao Yixian's immortal energy had sealed my extremely yin fate, but it also opened my yin-yang eyes. But no one would believe me if I told them about this. And after that ghost incident, I no longer feared those things. If I pretended not to see them, nothing would happen. During the summer vacation after graduating from junior high, I was 15 when Grandpa suddenly fell seriously ill. Without any warning, the day he got sick was exactly 1 year after the ghost opera, and also the early morning when Zhao Yixian and I had our wedding ceremony. That day, I was woken up by Grandpa's coughing. It seemed like Grandpa had known this day would come. Starting from the night before, he'd asked me to sleep in the same bed as him. That had never happened before. No one knew what was causing Grandpa's illness, but he was in great pain. Snake scales even started growing slowly on his limbs. That made me really panic. Grandpa also wouldn't let me call a doctor. He just said to me, 3 years have passed. This is fate. It's my time to go. Before I leave, I need to tell you something. It's about Miss Zhao. After Grandpa finished speaking, he started coughing again, Looking at Grandpa's condition, I wiped the tears from my eyes, but I still couldn't stop sobbing. Grandpa forced a smile and suddenly stopped coughing. He spoke fluently. Seeing you so strong. Grandpa can rest easy. Lian Fan, actually, Grandpa lied to you back then. Miss Zhao isn't dead. When she was about to be killed by those female ghosts, I made a deal with them. I traded my remaining lifespan to save her spiritual essence. So, Grandpa, the reason you're leaving this world now is because you saved Zhao Yixian? I stared at Grandpa in disbelief. Grandpa chuckled. A doctor can't treat themselves. I tell fortunes and read birth charts for others. But I didn't know what my own fate held. I asked your third uncle to read my fortune. In fact, my time was already up next year. So losing this time doesn't make much difference to me. Miss Zhao is a woman of great loyalty. Being able to save her spiritual essence with my lifespan is already more than worth it. Spiritual essence? I asked in confusion. Grandpa nodded. Humans leave behind souls when they die. Demons leave behind spiritual essence when they perish. Miss Zhao's spiritual essence is still in the jade pendant around your neck right now. In fact, she's been with you all these 3 years, but her spiritual essence was poisoned by the yin evil from those female ghosts, so she can only reside in the jade pendant. Then why has she never spoken to me? I asked, even more confused. Grandpa shook his head. She hasn't spoken to you, but she's already saved you once. 3 years ago when you went to dig graves. That ghostly confusion, she asked Juzi's mom to create it. I hurried to pull the jade pendant from around my neck and held it tightly in my hand. I spoke to the pendant, Zhao Yixian. Are you really here? As soon as I finished asking, the originally cold jade suddenly started to warm up in waves. She was really responding to me, but looking at Grandpa, who was about to leave, I couldn't feel the slightest joy. Grandpa smiled and nodded. You're only 15, but you're already very mature. Miss Zhao has done a great favor for our family. You have to find a way to help her. Grandpa, what should I do? I looked at Grandpa in confusion. Go to the city and find your third uncle. He should have a way. Third uncle? I have a third uncle? Why have you never told me about him? Grandpa sighed. Your grandma gave birth to 3 sons for me. The eldest and the second both died in accidents when they were 9. I thought they were just accidents. Later, I realized it was my fault. My fate dooms me to be lonely. That's why I divorced your grandma and sent her away. Your grandma had no education. I also didn't want your third uncle to become a burden to her. So I secretly took your third uncle and sent him to a friend's Taoist temple. Later, your third uncle learned some Taoist skills and went to the city. He tried to come back several times, but I chased him away each time because I was afraid my fate would kill him too. I listened quietly without interrupting. The person I've wronged the most in this life is your grandma. If you ever get to see her someday, help me say sorry to her. Listening to Grandpa's words, tears kept streaming down my face. I forced myself to stay calm and said, Grandpa, I'm sorry. I was so naughty before and caused you so much trouble. Grandpa struggled to lift his hand and patted my head. You've already been very sensible. I'm very proud of you. There's one more thing. It's about your background. In fact, you're not my biological grandson. Grandpa, I am. I'm Zhao Xin, your grandson, and I'll always be, I said firmly. Grandpa managed a weak smile. You do have the surname Zhao, that's true. But I found you abandoned. You were less than 6 months old when I found you. All you had with you was your birth chart, your surname, and that jade pendant around your neck. I carefully compared our birth charts and saw that my fate wouldn't harm you. That's why I dared to adopt you. The jade pendant on you is no ordinary thing. As for who your biological parents are, I've searched for a long time, but found no clues. Maybe this is something you'll have to figure out on your own. Grandpa, I understand. You rest for a while. Don't talk so much, I said, wiping my tears, my voice choking. Looking at Grandpa's weak state, my heart ached sharply. The time has come. Lian Fan, remember to take good care of yourself. The things in the drawer are for you. You still have a long road ahead. You must stay strong. Keep a kind heart. Only then will heaven bless you. These were Grandpa's last words. After he finished speaking, he slowly closed his eyes, and his hand dropped down naturally. Grandpa? Finally, I couldn't hold back the overwhelming grief. Tears poured out as I cried uncontrollably. Less than an hour after Grandpa passed away, Grandpa Hu came in holding a funeral gown. He looked at Grandpa's body on the bed and let out a deep sigh, then wiped his moist eyes with his sleeve. Lian Fan, let me take care of your Grandpa Zhao's funeral. I looked at Grandpa Ho. and asked, "Grandpa Who? What's with the snake scales on Grandpa's hands and feet?" Grandpa Who sighed. Those female ghosts wanted your grandpa's lifespan, but didn't want to leave evidence of murder. So they used Miss Zhao's snake essence to control the death energy in your grandpa, making it look like Miss Zhao killed him. But deep down, this has nothing to do with Miss Zhao. I nodded silently, took the funeral gown from Grandpa Who, and helped Grandpa put it on. Grandpa's funeral was grand. His body was also buried on Grave Hill. The funeral lasted 3 whole days. Many people came from nearby villages. All of them had received help from Grandpa before. On the 5th day after Grandpa passed, I'd only slept a few hours in those 5 days. The evening before, I'd finally collapsed from exhaustion and fallen asleep. I had a dream. Zhao Yixian was with me in the dream. It seemed like she knew what had happened, because she kept comforting me. But her face was blurry. I couldn't see it clearly at all. When I woke up, I finally started to accept this reality. I'd been staying in Grandpa's bedroom these days. I hadn't opened the drawer Grandpa mentioned. Today, I knew it was time for me to leave. So I opened that drawer. There were only 3 things inside: a letter, a bank card, and a very old photo. The photo was blurry. I couldn't tell what it was. I couldn't even tell if it was a person or a landscape. I slowly picked up the envelope and opened it carefully. The letter was long, written neatly by Grandpa, with a fountain pen. After reading the letter, I let out a deep sigh. First, Grandpa told me third uncle's address. Then he wrote down some guesses about my background. Grandpa said he received money from a stranger every year. The money was left at the door. He suspected the person who gave the money was my biological parent, but he could never find them. There was over 50,000 yen in the bank card. All that money came from that stranger. Grandpa had kept it all this time, even on the day of the ghost opera. He'd rather borrow money from others than use this sum. I folded the envelope and put it away. As for my biological parents, I felt nothing for them. I might as well pretend they never existed. After packing a few things briefly, I dragged a small suitcase and left home. Third uncle lived in the city. The city was far from home. I took a long-distance bus for most of the day. It was already dark when I arrived at the bus station. I didn't know the city well, and had no idea how to get there by bus. Plus, I still had some money with me, so I decided to take a taxi to the place where third uncle lived. "Where to, kid?" the driver asked warmly. I told him the address directly. "Master, I'm going to 44 Kenhun Road." "Do you know how far that is from here?" 44 Kenhun Road? Why are you going there so late at night, kid?" The driver stared at me in surprise. His expression even looked a little scared. Looking at the driver's expression, I felt confused. "Master, is there a problem with the address?" The driver looked at me, looking terrified. "Kid, you don't know? Kenhun Road is also called Thousand Souls Road. It used to be just a small town. During the war, the Japanese soldiers killed thousands of people there and buried all the bodies there. Later, the whole town was abandoned. After things settled down, they rebuilt the town. Dozens of families moved in, but that place is extremely haunted. Almost everyone who lived there went crazy. After that, all the houses on that road were abandoned. No one lives there anymore. You can't even see a single person there during the day, let alone at night. That place is way too creepy. I dare not go there," the driver said, looking at me in fear. I felt confused. The address Grandpa gave me for third uncle was clearly there. But why did the driver say no one lived there? I looked at the driver's expression, sighed, and prepared to find another car. I'd just turned around when a young man wearing a baseball cap walked over. He glanced at me twice, then asked, "Kid, you need a ride?" I was already prepared that this person would also refuse me, so I told him the address directly. "Yes, brother. I'm going to 44 Kenhun Road. Can you take me there?" To my surprise, the man agreed immediately, "Sure. Come with me. My car's over there." I was stunned. I didn't expect him to agree so readily. I thought maybe he was young and didn't know about Tianhun Road's reputation. But then he opened his mouth and asked for 500 yuan. 500 yuan? Why so expensive? I stared at him in surprise. That place is haunted. Most people dare not go there. My car's been blessed at a temple. Charging you only 500 is more than fair. The young man looked at me without hesitation. I wanted to see third uncle as soon as possible, so I didn't think too much. 500 is fine, let's go. "You're a straightforward kid. Pay first, then we'll leave right away," the man said, looking at me happily. "I'll pay when we get there. You don't think a kid like me will skip out on the fare, do you?" I said calmly. The man chuckled and said, "Fine, I'll give in to you this time." "You'll give in to me once later." A few minutes later, I found out what he meant by give in, because his so-called car was just a shabby motorcycle. I looked at the vehicle in front of me, speechless. "This is the car you were talking about?" "Yeah, just now. I gave in to you once. Now you give in to me once. We're even." "Kid, let me tell you, no one else dares to go to that place except me," the man said firmly, looking at me. Only then did I realize I'd been tricked. But it didn't matter. As long as I could get there quickly, a motorcycle was the same as a car to me. I got on the motorcycle with a dark face and held the suitcase in my hand. But before I could even get seated, the man yelled like a maniac, "Sir, hold on tight!" Then stepped hard on the starter. Thump, thump. He stepped on it a dozen times, but the motorcycle didn't show any sign of starting. I was about to speak when he looked at me and smiled. "Kid, don't worry. This motorcycle of mine has been blessed. It just needs a little effort to start. It's a bit hard to start, but it'll definitely work." I sighed and stopped paying attention to him. I was already on this thief's boat. The most important thing was to see Third Uncle soon and ask him how to help Zhao Yixian. 5 full minutes passed. He almost stepped the broken motorcycle apart before the engine finally sputtered to life. "See? I told you it would start." After saying that, he twisted the throttle and zoomed off. The huge momentum almost threw me off the bike. "Brother, can you slow down?" I said, speechless. "Can't. We've wasted too much time already. If we waste more, we'll miss the live stream." He rode extremely fast, like he was in a rush to get to a funeral. Some parts of the road were uneven. If I hadn't clamped my legs tightly around the seat, I would have been thrown off countless times already. We rode the motorcycle for nearly half an hour, then turned onto a broken road. He stopped the bike. There were houses on both sides of the road, but none of them had lights on. It seemed the taxi driver was right. No one really lived here. "This is Qianhun Road. I'll take you to number 44 now. Try not to talk. Just give me the money when we get there." "Oh right, my name's Zhuge Wu. You can call me Brother Wu. This is my phone number. I also know a thing or two about exorcising ghosts. Call me if you need help." Zhuge Wu bragged as he handed me a card. I took the card and nodded. I took out the money and handed it to him directly. He took the money and stuffed it into his pocket. "Hey, you're a straightforward kid," he chuckled. "No, 44 isn't far. We'll be there soon." As soon as he finished speaking, the motorcycle suddenly started. I wasn't prepared this time. I fell off with the suitcase. "Can you even ride a motorcycle?" I couldn't hold back and yelled at him. What was even more frustrating was that this Zhuge Wu didn't even notice I'd fallen off. He rode that broken motorcycle straight into Qianhun Road. I picked up the suitcase and cursed a few times. Since I was already here, I didn't complain anymore. Anyway, I'd reached Qianhun Road. Finding number 44 shouldn't be too hard. I dragged the suitcase and walked into Qianhun Road. It was really desolate here. There was a lot of garbage on the street. It looked like it hadn't been cleaned in decades. The shops around were dilapidated. Most of the shop fronts and doors were open, and the insides were pitch black. In the moonlight, they looked like rows of open black mouths. I let out a heavy breath, took out a flashlight, and shone it on the house numbers on the doors. Odd numbers on the left, even numbers on the right. So, the 44 should be on the right. I walked to the sidewalk on the right and searched one by one. The further I went in, the more uneasy I felt. Apart from my footsteps and the sound of dragging the suitcase, there was no other sound at all. This feeling was terrible, but I wasn't scared enough to stop walking. Grave Hill was much scarier than this, and I was only 12 back then. When I reached the door of shop number 14, I caught a glimpse of someone out of the corner of my eye. This person seemed to have no feet, just floating right in front of me. And under the moonlight, he didn't even have a shadow. Ever since Zhao Yixian broke my extremely yin fate, my yin-yang eyes had been open. Sometimes I could see things others couldn't. At first, I wasn't used to it, but now I was used to it. Grandpa told me, if you see something, just pretend you don't, and nothing will happen. So I didn't panic. Instead, I kept walking forward calmly, pretending nothing was wrong. If he knew I could see him, he might come trouble me. When I walked past him, I still couldn't help but glance at him. He was wearing a black long gown with 2 empty eye sockets, staring straight at me. "You can actually see me?" The ghost suddenly spoke as he looked at me. I quickly looked away and pretended I hadn't seen him. I dragged the suitcase and walked forward quickly. But after just a few steps, I found the suitcase suddenly became very heavy. I turned around to look, but the ghost was gone. When this happened, I didn't overthink it. Grandpa had told me before, if a ghost knows you can see him and then disappears, there are two possibilities. First, he doesn't want to trouble you anymore and left. The other possibility is that he hid himself to cling to you. My yin-yang eyes are still in the initial stage. I can't see ghosts that intentionally hide themselves. Thinking about how much heavier the suitcase was, I guessed that the ghost had sat on top of my suitcase. Thinking of this, I felt a chill run down my back. Maybe it was just my imagination. But I also faintly smelled a disgusting smell of rotting flesh. I forced down my fear and kept walking forward. At this moment, the jade pendant around my neck started to warm up. Zhao Yixian was warning me not to go looking for trouble. But there was nothing I could do now. I just hoped it wasn't a vengeful ghost here to claim a life. I also felt really regretful. Why did I have to glance at him just now? I dragged the heavy suitcase, past a few abandoned shop fronts, and reached the door of shop number 24. Suddenly, the suitcase became much lighter. I looked around. There seemed to be nothing unusual. And at the door of shop number 24, there was a pile of joss paper that hadn't fully burned. The small fire stood out. In this dark environment, I looked at the fire and suddenly understood someone had been burning joss paper to pay respects. I didn't care why someone would pay respects here. At least the ghost sitting on my suitcase had left. I was just about to lift my foot and walk forward when I suddenly heard a cry for help from inside, followed by a muffled whimpering sound. It seemed someone had covered the person's mouth. Someone's committing a crime. My heart skipped a beat. I let go of the suitcase and rushed in without thinking. When I went in, I realized it was a coffin shop. I wasn't afraid of coffins. I'd slept in coffins since I was a kid. I frowned. It was very quiet inside. Other than being a bit scary, there was nothing unusual at all. Did I hear wrong just now? Just as I was about to leave, I heard voices coming from the back of the coffin shop. I looked in the direction of the sound and saw another door in the corner of the shop. I suddenly understood what was going on. I walked to the door in the corner and peeked through the crack. Inside, there was a bed and a beautiful girl around 17 or 18 years old. Lying on the bed, the girl had her eyes closed, clearly knocked unconscious. And by the bed stood two men. One was a burly bald man. The other had a crew cut and was wearing glasses. Both of them had ferocious expressions. I took a deep breath. I knew exactly what these two men wanted to do. These guys were really bold, daring to do something like this on Kenhun Road, not even afraid of running into ghosts. At the same time, I knew I wasn't a match for these two men. If I went in, one punch from them would be enough to take me down. I watched anxiously as the man with glasses inside took a big sip of mineral water and sprayed it all on the girl's face. The girl's body twitched, and she slowly opened her eyes. When she opened them, she saw the two ferocious men. She quickly sat up and covered her chest with her hands, staring at them in fear. What do you want? Hey, isn't it obvious from your clothes? We're civilized people. If you cooperate nicely, we'll just rob you of your body. If you don't cooperate, we'll still force ourselves on you, of course. But whether you'll live to see the sun tomorrow, that's anyone's guess, the bald man said with a smile, then pulled out a shiny dagger. Seeing that dagger, I became even more worried. If I didn't do something, this girl would probably be ruined. My mind raced. Rushing in alone now would be like asking for death. Get away from me! The girl's desperate scream came over. Hearing that, I didn't dare hesitate any longer. I kicked the door hard, then turned and ran to a corner to hide. I knew clearly I couldn't show myself. If I did, not only would I be in danger, I wouldn't be able to save the girl either. The door, which was already flimsy, flew open with my kick. There was silence inside for 2 seconds. Then the bald man's roar came out. Right after that, I saw him rush out. He shone a flashlight around, but didn't find me. Brother, there's no one here. Could this place really be haunted? The man with glasses behind the bald man stammered. Hearing the glasses man say that, the bald man shuddered all over. His breathing also became heavy. Stop scaring yourself. His eyes twitched a few times, as if he was thinking about something. But the next second, a sound of something scraping the floor rang out. I knew that sound well. It was the same sound my suitcase made when I dragged it, but I'd left the suitcase outside. Had someone dragged it in? I turned my head slightly, and suddenly saw something that made me panic. My black suitcase was moving on its own, with no one holding it. "Oh my God, brother! Look at that suitcase, what's going on?" The glasses man immediately shone his flashlight at it. Following the flashlight beam, I saw it clearly. My suitcase was indeed moving on the floor, and the direction it was moving was straight towards me. Seeing this supernatural phenomenon, the bald man couldn't stay calm anymore. He ran out the door as fast as he could. The glasses man was so scared he peed his pants. Screaming and stumbling out, I still squatted where I was, not moving, watching the suitcase slowly move to a spot not far from me. Then it stopped. I was trembling all over. I'd seen ghosts before, but this weird situation still made me feel uneasy. I waited for a while, and my mood calmed down a bit, no matter what. This ghost that was moving the suitcase had helped me. Otherwise, those two men would have found me sooner or later. Thinking that, gratitude welled up in my heart, and I wasn't as scared anymore. I even put on a show of cupping my fists towards the suitcase and said thank you, hero. I didn't rush to get the suitcase. Instead, I quickly walked into the room in the corner. The girl was on the bed, trembling with fear. I let out a sigh of relief, walked over, and asked, "Miss, are you okay?" The girl trembled violently and slowly looked up at me. "Mimi, are you a human or a ghost?" The girl shrank back, staring at me in terror. I smiled at her. "I'm not a ghost. Have you ever seen a ghost this handsome?" The girl froze. Her expression relaxed a little. "What is this place? Why did they say this place is really haunted just now?" "This is Kienhun Road. Haven't you heard of it?" I looked at her in confusion. The girl trembled again. Clearly she had heard of it, and was very afraid of this place. "You mean this is Kienhun Road? My name is Yu Mengshuan. What's your name?" After the girl calmed down, she looked at me with a frown. "Yes, this is Kienhun Road. My name is Zhao Lianfen. You must have been kidnapped here. But I can't take you home right now. I have other things to do." "Those two men might not have gone far. You'd better wait until dawn to go out. I'll leave now." After saying that, I turned to leave. When Yu Mengjuan saw me turn to go, she quickly stood up, tidied her clothes in a fluster, and hurried over to me, grabbing my arm. "Don't go. What will I do if you leave? As long as you take me home, I'll tell my dad to give you 100,000 yuan, Yu Mengshuan said, looking at me pitifully. "I won't take you home. I still need to find my third uncle." I pulled my arm out of Yu Mengshuan's hand and walked out directly. When I got outside, I looked at my suitcase. There was a ghost sitting on top of it. I knew it clearly, so I thought I'd just leave it here for now and come back to get it after finding third uncle. But after taking just a few steps, the suitcase suddenly moved towards me. I felt helpless. It seemed this ghost was determined to let me take it with me. With this happening, how could I dare not take the suitcase? Anyway, Grandpa said third uncle had learned real Taoist magic. She should be able to help me solve this. When I turned back, the suitcase stopped moving too. I walked over, grabbed the suitcase, and walked out the door. When I got to the street, Yu Mengshuan followed me timidly. If she knew there was a ghost sitting on my suitcase, it would definitely scare her to death. We walked until we reached shop number 40. Yu Mengshuan suddenly asked, "Have we walked out of Tianhun Road yet? And how long has it been since you took a bath? Why do I smell such a terrible stench?" I could only reply speechlessly. I said I need to find my third uncle. Why would I walk out? And it's true I haven't taken a bath in days. "Your third uncle lives on Tianhun Road?" Yu Mengshuan looked at me in surprise. "He's at 44 Tianhun Road. We'll be there soon." "No, I need to get out." "You have to take me out." Yu Mengshuan suddenly stopped walking. I turned around and looked at her angrily. "There are two options now. Either you come with me to my third uncle's house first, then wait until dawn to go out. Or you go out by yourself now." Yu Mengshuan finally relented. "I'll go to your third uncle's house with you, but you've got to keep me safe." "Boring?" I rolled my eyes at her and kept walking forward. Yu Mengshuan quickly caught up, saying 200,000 yuan, you still won't agree? 500,000 yuan, that's enough, right? I said it before. "You only have two options," I said as I walked. Yu Mengshuan finally gave in. "I'll go to your third uncle's house with you, but you have to guarantee my safety." I didn't say anything, which counted as agreeing. Yu Mengshuan was a bit annoying, but I really couldn't just leave her here alone. I couldn't do something like that. Soon we reached number 44. This wasn't a shop front, but a villa with an architectural style from the Republic of China era. I pushed open the iron gate and walked in. I felt confused. Why was there no one here? Or had third uncle already gone to bed? Could it be that Grandpa had given me the wrong address? I quickly walked through the outer courtyard and reached the front door of the villa's first floor. The door was slightly ajar. It opened with a gentle push. I took out my phone, turned on the flashlight, and called out loudly, "Third uncle!" My shout echoed several times. I waited for a long time, but still got no response. I turned on my phone's flashlight and shone it inside. Someone definitely lived here, because the furniture and everything else was neat. Let's go out. Your third uncle isn't home, Yu Mingxuan said fearfully. He's probably gone out. Let's wait here, I said, putting the suitcase by the door. I walked to the center of the living room and lay down directly on the sofa, then looked at Yu Mengxuan and said, "I'll sleep for a while. Don't wake me up." Soon after I spoke, I fell asleep. The night passed in a flash. Soon the early morning sun shone through the window. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw a familiar face. This person, wasn't that unlicensed motorcycle driver? What was his name? Zhuge Wu. At that moment, Zhuge Wu was staring at Yu Mengxuan beside him, licking his lips nonstop. Yu Mengxuan hadn't woken up yet. She wasn't wearing much clothes, and her clothes were torn in places. "You unlicensed driver! How dare you show up in front of me again?" I sat up suddenly. Yu Mengxuan also woke up. Zhuge Wu was stunned, then chuckled. "I was just about to ask you, why are you two in my house? This is your house?" Yu Mengxuan and I asked at the same time. Yu Mengxuan rubbed her eyes and looked at me in confusion. "Didn't you say this was your third uncle's house?" I turned to look at Zhuge Wu. "Isn't 44 Qianhun Road my third uncle's house?" Zhuge Wu thought for a moment, then looked at me and asked seriously, "Where are you from? What's your grandpa's name?" "I'm from Yinfu village. My grandpa's name is Zhao Xin," I answered directly. Zhuge Wu's expression changed, and he continued asking, "So you're the kid the old man adopted? Does that mean you're my third uncle?" I was even more surprised now, because Zhuge Wu didn't look much older than me. "That's right, I'm your third uncle. Did the old man already pass away?" Zhuge Wu asked directly. My expression darkened again. "Grandpa just died a few days ago." I was fine not mentioning it, but talking about it makes me feel terrible. Zhuge Wu chuckled. "Life and death are fate. Wealth is determined by heaven. I knew the old man couldn't escape this fate. Now tell me what you came to find me for. Third uncle, I need your help with something. It's like this." I hadn't even finished speaking when Zhuge Wu interrupted me directly. "You can ask for help later, but first you have to tell me, how much money did you bring with you?" I looked at Zhuge Wu in confusion. This guy was really money hungry. Zhuge Wu looked at me. "That's right, helping people naturally costs money. But you're my third uncle. You're talking about money right away? Can't you let me finish first?" I felt speechless inside. We just recognized each other, and he's still as money hungry as before. "What third uncle?" "You were adopted. I'm his biological son. Strictly speaking, we have no blood relationship. Besides, even biological brothers settle accounts clearly." Zhuge Wu said seriously. "So you were adopted?" "That's so pitiful," Yu Mengxuan chimed in at this point. I glanced at Yu Mengxuan. It was already dawn. "You should go home first. Zhuge Wu and I have something to talk about." But Yu Mengxuan spoke bluntly. "My bag was stolen. I don't have a penny on me now. Give me travel money." After hearing her say that, I took out my phone to check the signal, then handed it to her directly. "There's signal here. Call your dad to come pick you up." "I don't have any money." When Zhuge Wu next to me heard I had no money, his face filled with disappointment. Then he looked at Yu Mengxuan. "What's your relationship with this kid?" Yu Mengxuan ignored him, took my phone and dialed a number directly, then spoke into the phone. In a cold tone, "Yujin, I'm at 44 Qianhun Road. Come pick me up right now." "Xuan? Thank goodness. It's great that you're okay. How did you end up there?" "Dad was so worried about you." A deep male voice came from the other end of the phone. Why do you think I'm here?" "You should be the one to answer that. Who knows which immortal you offended again?" Yujin instantly grew angry on the phone, roaring, "Which blind bastard dared to touch you?" "Tell me what he looks like." "A bald guy, with tattoos, and another guy wearing glasses." After Yu Mengxuan finished speaking, she hung up the phone. I took my phone back and looked at Zhuge Wu, who was stunned, feeling confused. She's Master Zhen's precious daughter? At this moment, Zhuge Wu became extremely respectful, as if he'd seen an emperor. Yu Mengshuan glanced at Zhuge Wu, then nodded slightly. When Zhuge Wu saw Yu Mengshuan confirm it, he quickly said, "Miss, when Master Zhen arrives later, please put in a good word for us. Don't let Brother Zheng take his anger out on us. Don't worry, Zhao Lianfan saved me. I won't let my dad overreact," Yu Mengshuan said calmly. "Since your dad is coming to pick you up, you can wait here. Zhuge Wu and I have something to talk about." I pulled Zhuge Wu and walked toward the second floor. Zhuge Wu didn't resist and followed me up to the second floor. I opened a random room door. There were 2 tables inside. One table was covered with yellow cloth, with incense burners, offerings, and some talismans on it, while the other table had a computer on it and some live streaming equipment. I glanced at the things inside, then closed the door. I have a snake wife. She was injured by female ghosts and poisoned by their yin evil. Now she's inside my jade pendant. I want to save her. Grandpa said you should have a way. Zhuge Wu was stunned for a moment, thought for a while, then looked at me and said seriously, 50,000 wen. I'll help you save her. Okay, 50,000 is fine. Tell me how to save her, I answered directly. I just happened to have a little over 50,000 wen with me. That Zhuge Wu asked for 50,000 wen right away. I even suspected he'd gone through my bag. Zhuge Wu looked at me, stretched out his hand, "Give me the money first. Then I'll do the work." Looking at Zhuge Wu's money-hungry look, I started to doubt if he was really reliable. "I won't give you the money. Not until you explain everything first." Zhuge Wu suddenly spoke in a serious tone. "Fine, I'll tell you then. Yin-Sha poison is extremely yin energy. Snake demons are also yin by nature. You can't counter it with yang-based methods. Otherwise, the snake demon will definitely die too. You can only use poison to counter poison. And use yin to dissolve yin. What do you mean by using yin to dissolve yin?" Listening to Zhuge Wu's professional-sounding words, a glimmer of hope reignited in my heart. Zhuge Wu continued, "The most extreme yin poison is Yin-Sha poison, and the most extreme yin object is the Yin-Sha pearl. As long as you find a Yin-Sha pearl, it can absorb all yin energy and yin poison. It can draw out the Yin-Sha poison without harming the snake demon's soul." I nodded after listening. "Since you say the Yin-Sha pearl can save my wife, where can I buy one?" Zhuge Wu froze for a moment and looked at me speechlessly. Yin-Sha pearls are extremely rare. They usually exist in corpse-nurturing grounds. Although I grew up with Grandpa, I only know about ordinary ghosts and spirits at most. I've never heard of deeper things like this. What's a corpse-nurturing ground? I asked, confused. A corpse-nurturing ground refers to a place where buried corpses won't decompose naturally. Over time, they turn into walking shadows, and walking shadows, in simpler terms, are zombies. Zhuge Wu explained patiently. I nodded silently. I've heard many stories about zombies, so places where zombies can form are corpse-nurturing grounds. Can you find a corpse-nurturing ground? I asked, looking at him. Zhuge Wu smiled. Okay, I've told you so much. You need to give me the money first. In 3 days, I'll take you to a corpse-nurturing ground to check. But not all corpse-nurturing grounds can produce Yin-Sha pearls. Whether you can find one depends on your luck. I'll give you the money now, and we don't need to wait 3 days. Let's go tonight, I said, taking the money out of my bag and handing it to him. Zhuge Wu took the money and put it in a drawer, then took a talisman from the drawer and stuffed it in his pocket, then shook his head with a smile. We're in no hurry. You brought me a big business tonight. I need to finish this business first. Don't ruin my plans. Otherwise, I won't help you anymore, Zhuge Wu said, turning and walking down to the first-floor hall. I followed him down. Yu Mengshuan was sitting on the sofa below, but she had opened my suitcase and taken out my clothes to wear. She acted like she owned the place. Looking at that suitcase, I suddenly thought of the ghost. I wonder if she's still there. Miss Yu, you've waited long. Has Master Zhen not arrived yet? Zhuge Wu asked Yu Mengshuan with a smile. Yu Mengshuan shook her head. She clearly didn't want to talk to Zhuge Wu. Zhuge Wu sat next to Yu Mengshuan, glanced at the sofa, then secretly reached his hand behind Yu Mengshuan and suddenly pulled out one of her hairs. Just as Yu Mengshuan reacted, Zhuge Wu said directly, Miss Yu, you're haunted by a ghost. Yu Mengshuan had a hair pulled out and was about to get angry. When she heard Zhuge Wu say that, she froze. What did you say? Ju Jwoon took out another business card. You must have heard of what kind of place Kyenhun Road is. Walking around here at night makes it very likely you'll be haunted by ghosts. This is my business card. If you feel any discomfort, after you go back, call me anytime. Yu Mingxuan sneered. A upright person isn't afraid of shadows. Besides, Zhao Lianfan, you should give me your phone number instead. Why should I give you my number? I asked, confused. I didn't know what Zhuge Wu was up to, but I wasn't going to expose him. After all, he was the only one who could save Zhao Yixian now. Yu Mengxuan looked at me and said seriously, "You're special. No one has ever been so cold to me before. I'll look into your background. If you're in cahoots with those two men, I'll make you regret ever being born. If not, I've decided to date you. You're so boring." I rolled my eyes at Yu Mengxuan and stopped talking. Can't you stop pretending? Hurry up and give her your number. Zhu Zhu looked at me anxiously and snatched the phone from my hand, then read my phone number to Yu Mengxuan. I looked at Zhuge Wu, knew he must have his own agenda. I thought it was just for money, so I didn't think too much about it. Half an hour later, a black business car stopped outside the door. Two middle-aged men got out. The man in front looked imposing. It seemed like in his eyes, there was nothing in this world that he couldn't solve. The man behind was wearing a suit, sunglasses, and had a sturdy build. With a cold expression, he looked exactly like a high-end bodyguard. After getting out of the car, they walked straight in. When the imposing man saw Yu Mengxuan, he looked concerned. "Xuanxuan, are you okay? I was so worried about you." "I'm fine. Yuzhen, these two are my saviors. Don't make things difficult for them. I want to go home now." Yu Mengxuan didn't even look at Yuzhen when she spoke. Yuzhen glanced at us coldly. People who live on Tianhun Road are either desperate outlaws or have some tricks up their sleeves. Are these two really your saviors? Or scammers trying to get close to my Yu family? I'll find out soon enough. Kaipeng, send the young lady home first. Where are those two ignorant guys? Master Jin? They'll be brought here in 3 minutes. The bodyguard behind him said respectfully. Yu Mengxuan didn't leave. Instead, she sat down and looked at me with a complicated expression. I want to know about this too. I'll leave after we find out the truth. Before 3 minutes were up, another van arrived outside. When the door opened, the two men who kidnapped Yu Mengxuan were dragged out. By now, both of them were beaten black and blue. They looked absolutely miserable. Yuzhen pointed at Zhuge Wu and me and asked the two men, "Do you recognize these two people?" As soon as these two came in, I saw Zhuge Wu's expression change slightly. The man with glasses was already terrified. He didn't dare to say a word, but the bald man had a bit more courage. He looked at me and shook his head, then looked at Zhuge Wu and shouted, "Brother Wu!" Zhuge Wu knew things were going wrong, hastily explained. "Master Zhen, I do know this man. He's just a small-time gangster. But I have nothing to do with this incident." Yuzhen looked at Zhuge Wu, then turned to the bald man and asked, "Daring to kidnap my daughter, Yuzhen's? You must have someone backing you up, right? Speak up and I'll spare your life." Zhuge Wu was even more shocked when he heard this. "Master Zhen, this isn't fair. Everyone knows your temperament. To save his own life, he'll definitely frame me." Yuzhen looked at Zhuge Wu coldly and said, "Just the fact that you know each other. If he frames you, it's just your bad luck." Sure enough, the bald man spoke up immediately. "Master Zhen," Brother Wu told us, "as long as we burn incense and joss paper outside, we could get away with it, and no one would find out about our bad deeds. We brothers were desperate. We just wanted to make some money." As soon as the bald man finished speaking, I knew he was framing Zhuge Wu. If he only wanted money, he wouldn't dare target Yuzhen. Besides, they weren't after money. They were after lust. It seemed they had no idea that Yu Mengxuan was Yuzhen's daughter. After hearing this, Zhuge Wu looked helpless, Master Zhen. I only said that to them. I never ordered them to kidnap your daughter. I really have nothing to do with this incident. Yu Mengxuan snorted and stood up. "You two really are no good," she said angrily and walked away. After Yu Mengxuan left, Yuzhen suddenly looked at me and said, "I know my daughter. She seems to have an indescribable feeling for you. A feeling that shouldn't exist at her age. But I, Yuzhen, am not an unreasonable person. In fact, I already investigated this matter thoroughly. You really have no direct connection to it, so I won't make things difficult for you." After hearing this, Zhuge Wu finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Master Zhen." "Thank you, Master Zhen." Yochin nodded. Then his tone turned cold. Drag these two ignorant fools out. Cut off all their hands and feet. Make sure to clean up properly. The bald man's face turned pale instantly. Master Jen, didn't you say you'd spare us? I really didn't kill you. After cutting off your hands and feet, you can go find a doctor. Isn't that sparing your lives? After Eugen finished speaking, he walked out. Zhuge and I watched the two men being dragged out. Both of us shuddered. Cutting off their hands and feet. What's the difference between that and death? After a long time, I looked at Zhuge and asked, who is Eugen? Eugen is the biggest gang leader in this city. The kind of person who makes the whole city tremble when he stamps his foot. He used to break laws and regulations, doing anything that made money. After having his daughter, he cleaned up his act. On the surface, he does legitimate business, but secretly, he's still smuggling cultural relics, in both black and white circles. No one dares to disrespect Eugen. Zhuge explained with lingering fear, except you, right? You pulled out Yu Mengshuan's hair just now. Were you trying to trick Eugen? I looked at him calmly. Zhuge nodded, his face serious. That's right, I'm going to blackmail Eugen hard. Within 10 days, I must get 1 million yuan as soon as possible. Go close the door. Zhuge said, taking out talismans. And Yu Mengshuan's hair. He wrapped the hair in a talisman and folded it into a diamond shape. I sighed and looked at him. Eugen has come this far. Are you sure there's no expert by his side? Zhuge smiled. If there really is an expert, then I'll fight them. This opportunity only comes once in a lifetime. Come with me. I nodded, following him, and asked in confusion, Zhuge, why do you need to get 1 million yuan so quickly? And why don't you have the surname Zhao? Zhuge opened the room we entered earlier. You'll find out about these things later. When I perform the ritual later, just watch. Don't make a sound. I hummed in response. Standing aside, Zhuge turned on the room light, then turned on the computer, opening a software on the desktop called Ghost Hunter Alliance. I looked closely. It turned out to be a live streaming software. Zhuge checked his watch. Stand here. This is a blind spot for the camera. Remember, never appear in the camera. Otherwise, you'll definitely die. Once I blackmail money from Eugen, I'll focus on finding the Yinsha Pearl for you. Once we find it, you leave here. If I guess right, you should be starting high school soon, right? I nodded after listening. Yes, at City No. 1 High School. Hearing City No. 1 High School, Zhuge suddenly started counting on his fingers, then looked at me seriously. Class 4, Grade 1 of City No. 1 High School. If you're assigned to that class, drop out immediately. Why is that? I asked, even more surprised. Don't ask, just listen to me. I will never trick you. I'm turning on the camera. Hide well. Don't make a sound, Zhuge said, turning on the camera. The spot where I stood was just out of the camera's view, and from this spot I could just see the screen. After the screen went black for a few seconds, 2 images appeared. One of them showed a person wearing a devil mask, and the other image showed the inside of this room. Zhuge ritual table was right in the center of the frame. Heh, Zhuge, you're the laziest one in my Ghost Hunter Alliance. If you keep this up, you won't be allowed to stay anymore. The person wearing the mask said in an extremely hoarse voice. Zhuge replied respectfully. Deputy Alliance Leader, I've had some personal matters lately. I promise to do the weekly live stream from now on. Don't think you can get away with it. Last time, the woman I told you to kill, you tricked me. This time I hope you won't let me down again, the masked man said calmly. Zhuge froze, hurriedly saying, Deputy Alliance Leader, the person to kill this time is Eugen's daughter. It might not be easy to kill her. After hearing Zhuge words, the masked man paused slightly. You actually dare to touch Eugen's people? I'll let you do it this time. Maybe you'll get 1 million yuan soon. Start your performance now. After the masked man finished speaking, the screen went dark. Then system notifications appeared, showing many people joining the live stream. I stood still, watching Zhuge walk to the ritual table, picking up a talisman, and grabbing a handful of rice to scatter. He began chanting incantations. Rice talisman, clear the void. Jade pure, supreme pure. By this order appear now. Reveal yourself as decreed by the law. After finishing the incantation, the rice scattered less than a meter in front of me. Zhuge swiped the talisman in his hand through the air a few times, his movements clean and neat. No hesitation at all. and where the rice had scattered, a ghost suddenly appeared. I looked closely. It was exactly the ghost I saw last night. I can't believe he's live streaming this to others. I frowned. Looking at Zhuge Wu, he really has real skills. But he's using me. I turned to look at the computer screen. When the viewers saw the ghost, they weren't scared. Instead, they kept cheering, saying all kinds of things. Looking at the comments on the screen, I had no idea what was going on. At this time, Zhuge Wu didn't respond to the comments. Instead, he picked up the talisman wrapped with Yu Mengshuan's hair, put 2 grains of rice inside, and walked to the ghost, chanting, "Eat my grain, submit to me. My will binds to this hair. As decreed by the law." After Zhuge Wu finished chanting, he bit his left hand and touched the ghost with his middle finger. The ghost's body slowly faded. In less than 2 breaths, it completely disappeared into the air. Zhuge Wu wiped the sweat from his face and said with a smile, "Thank you all for your support. Today's live stream ends here. See you all next week, friends." After Zhuge Wu finished speaking, he closed the live streaming software. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. As soon as he closed the software, I looked at him angrily. "You actually used me," I said, making a fist and swinging it at Zhuge Wu's head. Zhuge Wu moved extremely fast, easily dodging my attack, then looked at me calmly. "How did I use you? Yu Mengshuan and that ghost both came because of you. You actually used the ghost to harm Yu Mengshuan." I stared at him angrily. But Zhuge Wu didn't care at all. "You were haunted by a ghost. I helped you get rid of it, and Yu Mengshuan won't die. I can also make a sum of money. How is this a use when it's a win-win-win situation? But you just said, 'Bind to this hair until death.' Don't think I didn't hear that." I looked at Zhuge Wu coldly. "It is bind to this hair until death. But Yu Mengshuan will definitely not die. You can rest assured." "Huh? Didn't expect you to have a bit of a sense of justice," Zhuge Wu said, walking out.